Hi guys, it's Allison with your monthly Cha-ching podcast, and today we're going to be talking about all the things you need to think about before you move in by yourself. Living on your own and moving out of your parents' house definitely is a huge rite of passage, something you've possibly daydreamed about for a very long time. You have less rules and you have a lot more freedom. But the main things you really need to think about first, well, the main thing is, are you financially ready to move in by yourself or move on your own? There's a lot of different things to do. First of all, of course, you need to be calculating the housing costs, of course, life expenses, and then of course, creating a financial plan. And that will really help you kind of move into your future by living on your own. So housing costs. There's a lot of costs involved with, renting and moving in on your own. It's definitely not cheap when you come up with all the different things that you're going to need to pay for. Depending on where you live, even studio apartments, they're just a big, large room with all of your living area in a big room. They're still very expensive. So I have a lot of different steps that you can follow to really ensure that you'll be financially safe even when you move out onto your own. So the first thing, where to start? Where do you find these apartments in your area? You can either just drive around and look for different areas, look for different buildings, apartment buildings and things like that. Craigslist.com, again, that's Craigslist.com, is also a great place to begin. On that website, you're going to find a lot of different places to rent. You might even find places, people that are looking for roommates that want to move out onto their own. Be very careful though. Also, another great place to look is the local paper, or go to your local website, and there's a lot of different places there as well. People filling out ads, for you guys to move in. The last thing, be aware of scams with Craigslist and also local newspapers. So check with your parents, have them look at the apartment listings as well, and really work with them very closely on this. I know you want to be independent, but they are definitely wise, and I'm sure when they move down on their own, they have a lot to offer. The next thing to think about is be realistic. Apartments are very expensive, like I said before, and when you're coming up with a budget, be realistic and don't make your budget too tight. When renting, a lot of things that go into renting, which may not be included in the monthly costs, are all of your utilities. This is your water bill, sewage if you need to pay sewage, heat, air conditioning, electricity, oil, everything like that needs to be taken into consideration. You also need to make sure you have a deposit for your first and your last month's rent. And sometimes apartment buildings also have application fees, and you may also need to put another deposit down just to, hold that apartment until you're ready to make the decision and sign on the dotted line. So definitely be realistic. Make sure you can handle paying for your apartment each month, and make sure it's not too tight, because you don't want to be a slave to your rent. You want to have an apartment, move out on your own so you can do other things and experience freedom a little bit. Living expenses. It takes a lot of effort and money to own to rent an apartment or to run a household. So factor all of your expenses in, and there's a lot of expenses to pay and factor in. The first major expense, like I said before, was utilities. A bulk of your money will go to utilities. Again, don't forget about your phone, all the gas, water, heat, electric, oil, and parking too. Some of the apartment buildings also charge you a monthly fee for parking. Make sure you calculate all of these into your monthly expenses when you go to the credit union to make sure that you'll be able to really afford everything. Renter's insurance, another expense that you should definitely partake in. Insurance. Renter's insurance is something that protects everything in your apartment, all of your valuables from flood, water, natural disasters, fire, theft. So this is definitely something to discuss. And you can also, if you already have auto insurance, you can talk to your auto insurance provider, and if they don't offer renter's insurance, they'll be able to point you in the right direction. So this is something that you definitely don't want to skimp on. You definitely need to pay the money for renter's insurance. Car payment. If you have a car loan, you're going to need to be making a payment, obviously, so you need to budget that in. Also, insurance and maintenance. Now, you may not know, but depending on the areas that you move into or that you're looking at, your insurance might go up or down. Auto insurance tends to go down a little bit if you live near a school building or a government building. It tends to go up a little bit if you're living in a city and you don't have off-street parking. The next thing to really budget is entertainment and expenses, and entertainment and groceries. Obviously, the fridge is not magical. You do need to pay for groceries weekly, bi-weekly, but make sure you budget that in. Normally, average Americans spend about 10% of their salary on groceries. So that's a good place to start to really budget that in. Also, again, like I said before, you don't want to have a great apartment and not be able to do anything with the freedom that you have. So you also need to budget in entertainment, movies, going out, theme parks, anything you normally do, you want to make sure you have enough money to continue doing. So you definitely need to create a budget and stick to it. Again, the credit union can definitely help you with this. You need to budget the current and anticipated expenses and create a financial plan to really help you, be comfortable with your living situation. Make sure you leave breathing room in your budget, because again, you don't want to be stuck at the end of the month with, not enough money for rent or utilities or going out or your auto payments or anything like that. So need to figure out your budget, and then also figure out your expenses versus your salary to see if you can afford where you'd like to live. It's very exciting to move out on your own. It can be a little bit scary. There's a lot of things to think about. Your parents will always be there. They've lived on their, they moved out and they were living on their own, obviously. So they have a lot of great advice. The credit union representatives obviously also have a lot of great advice. So, don't get stuck in that hole where you want to move out right now, you want to get everything done right now, but you don't have enough money to do that. So again, even with apartments, even though you might love the apartment, make sure that you can afford it. Because I know it's very exciting, but you don't want to get in over your head and then find out that you can't live on your own. So good luck, let us know how it goes, and remember, with a little planning, you can definitely make it happen. If you guys have any questions, definitely let us know and we can answer them in an upcoming podcast or video. Thanks so much, and we'll see you guys next month.